What's going on YouTube? Hope you guys are doing well. As from a poll on Instagram, I'm going to be talking about how I got into running and things that I've learned and things that you guys can do to improve on yourself within running. So I'm getting ready to go on a run right now. I got three miles, a pretty easy run, but really quick I'll talk about how I got into it. So in mid-March, our school district went online, and the school had been closed. They weren't sure how long that was going to be. So I'm a high school strength conditioning coach and a football coach, so I still had weight room access at the time for a couple of weeks. But once April hit, they confirmed, okay, we're online for the rest of the semester. And at that point I lost access to the weight room. So for the area that I live in the mountains, April can still be kind of pretty rough weather. And I wasn't really quite running yet. I would try to on nicer days. It would still be snowy or windy. Pretty late snowfall this year, but I didn't start running much until May, I mean. So in May, I went way too hard, way too quick, and I was trying to just beat myself into the ground running as far as possible, and that just wasn't working. I was doing too much at that time. My body hadn't given my body enough time to get into running. My body was used to weightlifting, not endurance. So trying to go for miles, just within the first half mile, my calves would be on absolute fire. It was so painful. And that's just my muscular system not being used to endurance. That's just what it was. Also being a bigger guy, I think at that time I was closer to 240, and right now I'm sitting at 230. So dropping that weight, a little bit of weight has helped. I'm still dropping some weight, but I definitely went in way too fast, and now I've learned some things to ease yourself into it, which I'll share with you guys shortly. But right now it's time for a run, so let's go. All right, so I'm down here on a track. I'm not doing a track workout today. I just used it to warm up. Now I'm about to go run on the highway, 3 miles. My warm up was 1 lap walk, 2 laps run, 1 lap walk. So I was about a mile warm up. I feel good now. I stretched a little bit before this. I've also had half of a bottle of BPN's Go One More Sport and pre-workout. And the other half I'll have in between when I go on my bike. So after this run, we'll have a short talk. All right, so I'm back at home now, and I was really tired, really thirsty. I had a major cotton mouth after that bike ride. I rode, I think, 12 miles and a 3-mile run before that. But let's talk about running. So around, like I'd said earlier, May is probably when I officially started running, and that's because in April in this area it can still be pretty harsh weather, still pretty cold and windy and snowy. So about May is when I first started running. So initially in that first 4-week period, I was starting to figure out what to do, because April I was just trying to do too much at one time when I did run. So May I started to break things up. So the first 2 weeks of May was 3 days a week, and for those first 2 weeks I would just set aside about a 45-minute to an hour time, and when I ran, I would just run until my calves started burning and I ran out of breath. So that was probably 3 to 4 minutes maybe, and I did that for weeks 1 and 2, and then weeks 3 and 4 I ran 4 days a week and kept increasing. I basically just increased the amount of time I was running, and I did it in an interval type of way. So just for 45 minutes to an hour, I would run about until my calves started to burn and I couldn't breathe anymore, and then I would stop, catch my breath, and just alternate that interval. I would just keep going over and over again, and eventually over time you're increasing your body's ability, your body's adjusting to the aerobic endurance. My body was adjusting to from weightlifting into endurance training. So It took some time, but over that month was mostly an adjustment period. And I just kept increasing that amount of time. It's no different. All these tips are really not any different than increasing your volume and intensity to get stronger or in better shape in the weight room. It's not any different. So, running is the same kind of way. Same principle. It's progressive overload. So then in June, I really started to push the training. At that point, I'm running about 1.5 miles straight, trying to get to that 2 mile mark, and it's literally just increasing that every single time. You don't need to beat yourself into the ground every time, but at least once or twice a week, you do need to push yourself a little bit each week. You're pushing yourself. Just in the weight room, you should be forcing yourself to add about every 2 weeks, 2.5 to 5 pounds. And for running, it was increasing my overall distance by a 1/4 mile or a 1/2 mile, or trying to run faster, maybe 15 seconds off of a mile time. And that's in terms of running, 15 seconds is a long time. So that's what I recommend for getting into it, is doing that kind of interval. And then once I started running, this probably mid-June into July, I'm now able to run 3 miles pretty well. And at this point, I would start adding interval training, like actually interval sprints. Now, what I mean by that is it's not like 40-yard sprints you're doing conditioning for sports, but you are running at a much faster pace. So for easy math, let's say you run an 8-minute mile. And I think the easiest place to do this is on a track, but you can also use a run tracking app. I use one called Run Keeper is what I use. A million free apps out there. Also fitness watches, if you have one, work fine. But a track I think is easiest. So let's say you run an 8-minute mile, and that's basically 2 minutes per 1/4 mile. And that's your average pace for a 1/4 mile is 2 minutes. So we want to increase that overall mile time, let's say down towards like 7.5 minutes. So you want to be able to run a 1/4 mile 30 seconds faster than you normally would. And it's an interval, so you want to push the pace, but you're not sprinting at 100% speed. 100% speed. You're going to run that 1/4 mile in about 1.5 minutes. And that's kind of what I've been doing. I've been trying to increase my 1/4 mile sprints every couple of weeks, and those interval training sessions have been the biggest difference, and have helped me so much in increasing my aerobic capacity, my conditioning, and my overall running speed. And the reason why, again, you don't want to sprint at a 100% speed is because when you're trying to run long distance, running as fast as you can, you're not going to get very far. Your body's not going to be able to sustain that for very long. However, you are trying to increase your body's ability to run at a specific speed for a longer period of time. So as you do that, now you can run a lap and a 1/4, so that you're getting close to a 1/2 mile, and you're trying to run that 30 seconds faster than you normally would. And I typically do that kind of interval for a mile, so I'd have 4 1/4 mile intervals, and that's the workout. And now it's about increasing your volume. I think to start, even 200 meters is good. And in terms of meters, a mile is 1,609 meters, 1,609. But those intervals has helped me the most. And as far as programming goes, I've been running 4 days a week, and that's only 1 day a week. So Monday is usually going to be a pretty long run, at a even pace, very even pace. I'm not trying to push anything, just getting the miles in. And then the next day of the week would be an interval or a sprint workout on a track. Another day of the week is going to be low mileage, probably 2 miles, but those miles are going to be, I'll probably do a 1/2 mile warm up and a 1/2 mile cool down at the end, but the 2 miles is the main workout, and I'll try to make those miles as quick as possible. I'm not trying to kill myself, but the goal is to let's say I've been running a 10-minute mile, I want to get both of those miles under 9 minutes and 30 seconds. And in between that, you're giving yourself time to rest. So first mile, say it's right at 9:30. The second mile maybe is at a 9:25. I just want to keep that low. And every couple of weeks, again, you're taking seconds off every couple of weeks. So within a month's time, you might be taking 10, 15 seconds off of your overall mile time. And you add that up for multiple miles, that adds up in a long time. Time is a big deal in an endurance sport. 15 seconds is a very long time. So, and it makes a big difference just overall. And then go back to breaking it up. Long run, interval workout, basically would be a tempo run, and then another long run. And those long runs are very important, because that's what you're trying to do. Is you're trying to run, you're trying to do endurance. And then the other stuff is kind of, it's like your accessory work that's going to help the big picture, like building a bench press, tricep accessory movements and shoulder accessory movements in your back is going to help the main movement of a bench press. So those are a lot of tips. One more tip that I can say is proper attire. So right here, I have the Hoka Rincons. Having proper foot attire is a big deal. I've been using these for a little over a month now. Absolutely love them. These I definitely recommend if you're running on the street, highway, and my track workouts. When I first started running, because I live in a place where there's trails everywhere, I started off with these Nike Pegasus 36 trail shoes, and they worked very well, just wasn't working for me on the track and being on concrete too much. I wanted something with better tread and that could withstand more rocks and things like that. So I will also say that trail running is much different than running on the street. You're hopping over stuff. It's very up and down. Nothing's flat. So that's definitely different. But those are my biggest tips for getting into running and things that hopefully can help you. If you have more questions about it, please ask us. Please leave a comment. You can follow us and message us on stg.fit or personally ask me questions on Instagram. Leave comments for any other training things that you guys want to see. Like and subscribe to the channel. I hope y'all have a great day.